So y'all thought this was not a big deal. Yes, I am wearing a robe. Stop looking. Goddammit. Hashtag say no to professional clothing in a domestic environment. That's kind of catchy. Now, let's make that trend, okay? But yes, as a lot of you said in the comment section, it's not a big deal. It's not truly canceled. This is where I start, start doubting that claim a little bit, because I also believe that shit. But there's a few actual consequences coming from this. Now, Dave Chappelle actually responded, and we're not saying like, oh, the representatives. No, he actually took time from his show to address the whole claim of, we actually tried to contact Dave Chappelle to talk with us, the whole walkout, Netflix walkout thing. And, the rep said that's a lie, and he doubled down and he said like, yes, they are in fact lying. That never happened in the actual show. So instead of talking about it, let me just show you.
It's been said in the press that I was invited to speak to the transgender employees at Netflix, and I refuse. That is not true. If they had invited me, I would have accepted it, although I am confused about what we are speaking about. I said what I said, and boy, I heard what you said. My God, how could I not? You said you want a safe working environment at Netflix. Well, it seems like I'm the only one that can't go to the office anymore.
Because, I mean, unless you eat shit for breakfast, this is pretty obvious, right? This is the kind of thing, like, this is a pattern with cancel culture, that they always they try to, oh, you gotta de-escalate things, and in the attempts to make everything turn into peace, they go Antifa mode, and everything goes the opposite way. All right, when they were claiming, oh my god, the police is so violent, they have to learn to de-escalate. Well, do you know to de-escalate yourself? Because all these protests are causing an issue out of something that there was not an issue to begin with. I remember when it was with the police protests and shit like that. What was it called? Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone or something like that, and they tried to change the name to sound even more. It's an actual thing, all right. For those who are not American or out of the loop, it was crazy. For like a few weeks or something like that, there was a part of it was like some division shit. There was a part of the United States that there was no police there. There was no law. There was nothing, right? So it was like a sovereign country. Like there was no rules in a certain way. They had rules, but they believed in that whole like let's call it communist ideal, but a lot of people dream with this even if they're not communists, which is the idea that everyone regulates themselves, right? Which is not a reality. In a certain way, even capitalism believes in this. So let's not even toss systems out here, because it is just dumb to think that people will be nice in a vast majority. But yeah, it resulted in 3 dead people. An area that was supposed to be calm with no police brutality and shit like that, there was actually more, like a bigger rate of accidents and violence and shit like that than if it was actually regulated by the police. It was a whole mess. But they were trying to tell the police to de-escalate when they were creating the issues themselves. They were making the situation further worse. This is part of the cancel culture. If you didn't know, now you know, right? It's the way that they operate.
I want everyone in this audience to know that even though the media frames this, that it's me versus that community, that is not what it is. Do not blame the
We know.
Do not blame the LGBTQ community for any of this shit. This has nothing to do with them. It's about corporate interests and what I can say and what I cannot say.
Gee, it is almost as if this was all about the money, which is something that I was addressing in the latest video. But even in the first, I mentioned this. I think it was in the first, right in the first, that this is not Dave Chappelle versus LGBTQ, whatever. It has to do with these. Usually, like, the white saviors, as I mentioned with the protest things, most of the times it's not even the people that the media likes to, because it sells, right? Saying that Dave Chappelle is against LGBTQ and vice versa, that sells. That's a really big conflict that people go like, oh, he's all against all this community, like this marginalized community. It's not. Most of the times it's the Twitter crowd, right? We're talking about the white saviors. I guess in this case would be the straight cis, I don't know, a crowd that is trying to save people that don't need to be saved. I mean, there's nothing to save them from. That's the thing. This whole thing of words can be violent or words are violence, whatnot. Bro, what the fuck are you all about? I think it was Abin Preach that addressed this in the video about Dave Chappelle as well. Words will never be fucking violence. What you talking about? Like, there was a comment in the comment section, I think it's from the video that I'm gonna play next, that has correlation with this, that said that, you know, and yeah, pretty much this is what this crowd believes if they say this kind of shit, is that, you know, if words are in fact violence, then domestic abusers have a case for self-defense all of a sudden, right? Because like Bill Burr says, there's always a reason to hit someone, but you usually don't do it because you know that's not the right thing to do. No matter how much they get you pissed off, you know, you need to control yourself and never escalate beyond words. So you know the clear distinction between words and actual violence, because that's what makes, you know, an actual case of violence, right? Now, I know what you're saying, but there is domestic violence when it comes to psychological shit. It's still not really about words, but rather manipulation, lies, threats. Those are usually the things that people mention when they talk about psychological, you know, domestic violence or whatever. But you can't be really believing any of this shit, because if that's the case, 80% of us are going to jail. Like, straight up, we're all going to jail. If this is a reality, which I deny it, all right? It's not the fucking reality.
In summer 2020, when the whole world shut down, I was outside doing shows. My neighbor had a cornfield and he let me throw shows there, and people came from all over the country. Some people came from around the world. I made a whole documentary about it. The first night of those shows was a piece that some of you might have seen. It was called 846, and it dealt with the murder of George Floyd. This film that I made was invited to every film festival in the United States, and some of those invitations I accepted. And when this controversy came out about the closer, they began disinviting me from these film festivals. And now, today, not a film company, not a movie studio, not a film festival, nobody will touch this film. Thank God for Ted Sarandos at Netflix. He's the only one that didn't cancel me yet.
Bro, I never thought of seeing the day where I would actually, Netflix would actually be an ethical company. But yeah, that's the reality. It's the one who's stepping up. And like, this is not gonna apply only to Dave Chappelle. If you think this is about like, oh, because it addressed Dave Chappelle. Listen, I'll say this with any fucking show, right? Sex education, for example, is not something that I'm a big fan of. As if, you know, I usually don't have too much time to watch shows. So Mandalorian has a special place in my heart, as you may have noticed, and with some shorts from my previous videos, right? I love the Mandalorian, all right? I've seen some shows that, you know, Squid Game, it was quite good. You know, there's a lot of things that I like to watch, but only if I have the time. But sex education is something that, for example, addresses the multiple sexualities, and in a certain way, it is a show about diversity. And I like it, you know, it's not forced. So it is actually quite a hit. People actually like it because, again, it's not forceful. And the same way that I would be pissed, or I am pissed about people trying to cancel Dave Chappelle, I would also be damn fucking pissed about people trying to cancel Sex Education or any show based on, oh, it triggers me or offends me. Like, that's a you issue, not us, right? So yeah, today is Netflix. I would have wished that other companies realize that if you actually stand up and, you know, you actually have some fucking balls, you're gonna realize like, who the fucking thought that this was a vocal minority? It doesn't represent the majority at all, right? And this was just a problem that people were trying to create. It was not an actual problem for most people. Who the fucking thought? But yeah, as you can see, there is actual real world consequences out of this cancellation. Maybe, I don't know. I would say that this pretty much, I mean, at this point, when you start costing money, but let's not even talk about money, because this was a man who kissed 50 million goodbye just because he wasn't up to his standards, all right? The show wasn't up to his standards, and he thought that it wasn't going in a good direction. All right, so if you try to attack Dave Chappelle's integrity, you're not gonna have any luck here, all right? Because I know what this man did. Kissing away $100 is one thing. Kissing 50 fucking million, dude. But when Dave Chappelle is actually being denied, like the biggest fucking name in comedy is being denied from showing a movie or a film that supposedly is about, let's say, maybe the racial tension in the United States, you know you fucked up. I mean, what is this? Are we trading, like, all of a sudden you are for, like, the minorities have to be heard and the 13% don't deserve to be addressed just because the 0.6 is mad about being included in jokes? What the fuck is up with this? I just don't understand. You clearly don't understand what you're what you're damaging here.
I am not bending to anybody's demands. And if you want to meet with me, I'd be more than willing to, but I have some conditions. First of all, you cannot come if you have not watched my special from beginning to end.
This statement itself already lowered the number from thousands of enraged people down to maybe a couple of dozens, all right? Most didn't watch the show, right? And listen, people, it goes without saying, if you are going to criticize something, fucking know what you're criticizing. And I would say that in this special, you gotta fucking hear it. Not like, oh, I was shy 20 minutes. Like, no, it's a fucking hour, right? It's not too much. Dedicate one fucking hour to, at least if you want to criticize this, watch the whole fucking special and understand the message, because I can assure you that most of you motherfuckers out there that are really mad about Dave Chappelle didn't watch. You watched fucking clips of not even 10 minutes. You didn't even watch 10 fucking minutes. I've talked with people personally, and immediately I saw that this motherfucker didn't watch the special. All right, they were all over the place. They didn't even know the shit that was mentioned. They think that this is the first time Dave Chappelle ever mentioned Daphne. That's how stupid they go.
And thirdly, you must admit that Hannah Gadsby is not funny.
Alright, so this is where we have, I guess, our cue to jump to the second video. Who is Hannah Gadsby? Because I didn't fucking know either before this, but apparently is an Australian comedian. I think she goes by she, okay? And yeah, she has a lot to say about men usually. And it's a comedian, right? You know I don't like to gatekeep the word comedian. But even if you are a comedian, there are good comedians, as the case of Dave Chappelle, that has the most, like, a huge rating when it comes to audience reviews. The critics are a little bit mad about it, but then once you do look at Hannah Gadsby's stats, let's call it, the 100% on tomato meter by critics, huge fucking red flag. And then you see the 20-30% of audience reviews, like, I don't know, man. Let me tell you that when you're a comedian and you're trying to please those who get paid to say the shit that they say versus the people who have no reason to like you, I think that you become a bad comedian when people just generally don't like you. This video is by a YouTuber called Barry, okay? Oh, Jesus.
Hannah Gadsby, Australia's most unfunny comedian, if you can even call her a comedian, has slammed Netflix over the Dave Chappelle special. Of course she has. She's the most salty bitch in Australia. Nick, cue clip.
I'm not a man hater, but I am afraid of men. If I'm the only woman in a room full of men, I am afraid. And if you think that's unusual, you're not speaking to the women in your life. I don't hate men, but I wonder how a man would feel if they'd have lived my life.
Listen, I'll admit that I don't know the context of this. If this is a part of her comedy specials, and I don't know. If you're complaining about Dave Chappelle being all over the place, like it's an outrage disguised as jokes, what the fuck is this? If it's the case, I don't know the context of the video, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. But by these statements, if I take these statements seriously, which she does have a serious tone, I will say this, and there's no punchline, by the way. How the fuck do you think that in 2021 a man feels being in the same room as 100 women? All right? Put that shit in a fucking workplace, and that fear gets augmented by like thousands and thousands of times. I mean, do you honestly, listen, ladies that are watching this maybe, all right? And men, you can check fact me on this one. Do you honestly think that men are comfortable being in a room with people that don't look like us? Right? Put this into any other group. It's not, I'm not saying that you should feel like, you know, you should start stereotyping people, but usually, yeah, you feel pretty much, how should we say this, a little bit out of your element when you are in a room full of people that don't look like you. I'm pretty sure, right? If you're black, if you're a woman, if you're a man, I don't care. Anything, you have been at least in one situation where you felt like, I shouldn't be here, even though you had all the reasons to be there, right? You're equal to everyone, but you felt a little bit weird about it. I can assure you that we have the same fucking feeling about women. What do you women think that, oh no, the women are saints, we all know this. Like, we don't have news articles of women doing bad shit that makes us scared. No, we are completely comfortable. No, we're not comfortable with every single woman, okay? Women that I trust, of course. But there's a lot of situations where, you know, if I was alone in a room with a woman, I'm gonna try to get the fuck out of there. Even if the person is actually a good person, they would never do that shit. If I don't know you, I'm getting the fuck out because I'm uncomfortable. Listen, it is true that I don't want to live your life as a woman, but I've also, even when I know women in my life that know all this shit about men, that they, you know, they realize that they are in great risks in certain scenarios, right? But even with that, I was curious and I asked them, would you ever switch to be a man if you could, to avoid those issues? Surprisingly, even after all that complaining, let's call it, but I'm not saying complaining as in like, you shouldn't be complaining, I'm just honest complaining. They said like, no, despite all that, I would not be a man, because they realize deep down that men have issues themselves. Here's the thing, it's not that men have more issues, that women have more issues. It's the same thing with race, religions. What most of the times what happens is it has to do with different problems, not more. No, I would not like to be a woman, but a woman also most women would not like to be a man either. Now, I'm not going to react to the whole video because I just noticed the time, okay? But in a nutshell, all right, she's really mad about being included in the same, by a statement by Ted, my homie, the CEO of Netflix. I'm just calling him by first name, I don't know why. But he was basically saying, oh no, we have diverse content, we have sex education, which in fact is a show all about different sexualities and diversity. Orange is the New Black, I never watched it. But then he mentions Dave Chappelle and I already forgot her name thingy, right? And she got really mad about that, because she doesn't want to be brought into the mess. But then you start reading into the statements, oh shit, maybe it is about the fucking money once again, right? Maybe a little bit jealous. But what I can say is that she's mad. She's really mad with Netflix and saying fuck your algorithm and shit like that. Listen, I don't know about you, but if I was a CEO, this wouldn't even be to be petty. I would be genuinely worried about this person and be like, okay, hold on a second, we never knew that we had an issue with our platform. We can remove your content, that's absolutely fine, don't worry about it. You don't like our algorithm, you feel like we're unethical, that's absolutely fine. We will remove your content the same way, I think it was Netflix that was also with the whole mess with Dave Chappelle, was it? The Dave Chappelle show, or Chappelle show, and then they kind of solved it, right? They also removed it to protect Dave. So here's the thing, you want protection? You don't feel comfortable? We don't want people feeling uncomfortable in our company or our platform. We're gonna remove your content. I would like to see her reaction. I would then measure her character when she actually has something to fucking lose. So if you're mad about all this kind of shit, hey, how about not fucking lose your all privilege that you have on Netflix? Because not every comedian, I mean, I don't even know if Andrew Schulz is on Netflix. Someone tell me, because I love Andrew Schulz, is one of the best comedians. I think, you know, he's quite young still, but he's one of the best right now, and he doesn't have a Netflix special, or if he does, I haven't seen it yet, or if he does have, I would assume it's maybe just one. You have two, at the very least. That's what I've seen from, you know, internet reviews and shit. So in conclusion, she can suck a fat one, right? Now, what is this fat one? Whatever you want to suck, I don't know. I'm being inclusive. I'm allowing you to choose your element, all right? Just
I desperately want people to see this movie, but I understand why investors would be nervous. Since nobody will touch it, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will make it available for all of you in 10 American cities, going on sale in the next few days. You will be able to see this movie in its entirety, and you can see what they're trying to obstruct you from seeing. And you can judge for yourself, but you cannot have this conversation and exclude my voice from it. That is only fair. You have to answer the question, am I canceled or not? Then let's go. Thank you very much, and good night.
And listen, I'm just not just gonna address more of the whole situation with Anna, because I really don't feel like she should be the main interest of anything, honestly. All I know is that Dave Chappelle, right? What happens today with Dave Chappelle could happen with a female comedian tomorrow, and I would be on the same fucking boat, okay? About how this whole the escalation that is actually quite the opposite is a fucking mess. But I guess only time will tell. Thank you so much. Subscribe if you like this style of videos, and thanks so much for watching. Like the video as well, that also helps out a lot. And I'll see you next time.